Do you think that a better online strategy from the Labour Party, with a concerted effort to get grassroots involvement, much like David Miliband is doing now, could have rescued them at the election, or were they doomed anyway?
The Labour Party, I think, understood this stuff much better than Conservatives did. They did involve their grassroots activists. They brought independent grassroots activities such as the Labour Doorstep hashtag and the Mob Monday hashtag into their own campaigning. And actually, this was an election campaign on behalf of the Labour Party that was completely grassroots driven, much more than the Conservative one. Partly that was because of necessity, because the Labour Party had no money and so couldn't do a big poster campaign. But I think it was also genuinely an understanding of how the internet should work in terms of politics and how it should be grassroots driven and activist driven. So I think actually the perception, the idea that the Labour Party hasn't done its online stuff well is a complete misnomer, completely false.
I think my personal view is that they were probably doomed, whatever they did. But I think what's striking is that generally after the results were in, people felt Labour had probably done a lot, or at least a bit better than people thought they might. And I suspect that's probably because they in fact ran a pretty good online campaign. So I don't think the result reflected any weakness in their online campaigning.
I think as the election was quite close, you could point to almost any area of activity and say, well, if they'd done that particular area a little bit better, maybe they would have just hung on and been the largest party perhaps in a hung parliament. But you could say that about the internet, you could say that about the TV debates, you could say that about their advertising campaign, you could say about a whole range of activities. I don't think, though, the internet really stands out in that list as being something that in some way would have enabled them to really deal with the core underlying problems they had, which was having been in power for a long time, having an economy in a very poor state, and having a party leader who had many warts as well as some strengths. And for any of those three things, the internet wasn't really the solution.